Generally speaking, it seems that China was ahead of the game, and China knew about Trump's moves ahead of time. If you look at Venezuela, for example, China reduced its imports from Venezuela until it officially stopped importing from Venezuela. The word officially here is important. And then they switched import from Venezuela to Western Canada. The crude for complex refiners is almost the same. They are kind of substitutes, although the quality of the crude is not exactly the same. But from a refiner's point of view, it makes perfect sense. So, and then they built those massive inventories until 2 weeks ago. China's oil inventories were at record high. So they were prepared for this game. The same thing for Iran. Anyway, you look at it, you look at what on oil on water, the amount of oil that exists on ships right now between Venezuela and Iran. What we see near China and near Malaysia is more than 80 million barrels. So there is enough oil for China basically for the next probably couple of months without any change in imports or consumption.
Can you give us an update on in terms of how much oil Iran does produce per day? And if there would be a reimposition of sanctions, do you think that the United States would wait for OPEC to increase production in order to offset any losses that are to come through in terms of oil from Iran?
Generally speaking, when we look at what's happening or what happened in the 12-day war in June, Iran continued to export oil despite the war. And we've seen President Trump basically telling Netanyahu not to hit the oil facilities. I'm talking about the crude oil facilities and the port facilities, so oil prices will not go up. And what we know about the history of President Trump, if he is given several choices and one of them is low oil prices, he will always choose low oil prices. So the idea of losing the Iranian oil and impacting the market is not there. And I think any attack on Iran will not increase oil prices significantly. The maximum we can see if there is a similar war like we've seen in June is probably an additional $4 to $5.
Talk to us about the impact on the teapot refiners, as I understand that in terms of payment for this Iranian oil, it already goes through non-U.S. controlled financial systems to bypass sanctions. So there effectively shouldn't be any impact on China. But talk to us about the teapots.
Well, the issue here, what the viewer should realize is the following, that the major oil companies in China have businesses in Europe and the United States, and their stocks are traded on the stock exchanges of Europe and the United States, and they deal with US banks, they deal with European banks, and therefore if they violate the sanctions they will be in big trouble. So China long time ago basically instructed its major oil companies to avoid any problems at all, and then they told them literally not to directly import from Iran or Venezuela or Russia. The word directly here is important. And then they told the teapot refineries, since they don't have any business in the West, they don't deal with the Western banking system, they told them, look, go get all that oil you can, bring it into China. Once it is in China, we can do whatever we want with it. It's not necessarily that the teapot refineries basically will refine all that oil, because they can sell it to the oil majors within China. And then the oil majors needed more oil than what the teapot can get. So what they are doing, we see ship-to-ship transfer near Malaysia. And if you look at the official numbers, China officially is not importing a single barrel from Iran. The official numbers do not have anything from Iran. They have a lot of oil from Malaysia, more than what Malaysia produces, but it's not from Iran officially. And this brings us to the 25% tariff on those who import from Iran. How does the Trump administration is going to prove that, since there is nothing official? All this is basically is in the it's dark fleet. It's in the kind of in a market that no one knows anything. So are they going to send 20,000 troops and the navies to board every ship to make sure it's not Iranian oil? So the idea here is this 25% idea, it cannot be applicable.